Hi, good afternoon, everybody. This is Gladys Aguay, and welcome to another rose-colored lesson. And this is lesson number 21. And today's lesson, something that's just really important with what is going on today, and just talking about critical thinking and why you need to be thinking for yourself. It's the analysis of facts on any problem, any subject, or any content so that you can form a judgment about that. And when you form a judgment about that, then your behaviors, your results, your attitudes, your mindset is all going to be centered around that judgment that you have formed. And there's this question now in today's world about what is a fact. And I don't get that because it has not changed. It's something that's proven. It's verified to be true. That's what a fact is. But this, I'm talking about your life overall, your life, your business, your career. Anytime I'm talking to you, I'm not just talking to you about one aspect of your life. We're not in silos. We are integrated, whole human beings. And if we are not using our critical thinking in one area of our life, we're not using it in others either. If we're not thinking for ourselves in one area of our life, we're not thinking for ourselves in other areas of our lives. And when we analyze these facts, it's not, again, just about accumulating facts, accumulating information, accumulating data. It's about approaching a problem to come to the best possible solution. It's about coming up with solutions. So you have to focus on upgrading, up-leveling, upskilling your knowledge and engage in independent learning. And when you do this, it can't be that somebody is telling you to do this. This is about you needing to think for yourself. It is about you being self-directed, you being self-disciplined, you monitoring yourself, regulating yourself, you self-correcting, correcting it in your mind, but that fear keeping you acting as though that analysis and fact and that judgment still applies when it no longer applies. And the world around them is swirling and in chaos and all of this, and you still got your head buried in the sand with that same old thinking. Even though new information, new facts have come into your circle, come into your life, come into your psyche from what you have heard, what you have learned. So it's about critical thinking. Thinking for yourself is really about analyzing, assessing, and reconstructing the problem, subject, or the content that we talked about before. And I've talked about we are in this globally competitive world. We're in this globally competitive world, which means that we have to be in a continuous learning mode of operation. I talk about how change is constant. It changes rapidly. It can be complex change. I talk about signals, internal signals, that anger, that frustration, that uneasiness, that anxieties that we have. Those are internal signals that we ignore, that we need to start paying more attention to. You can't keep ignoring that. It's real. And then external signals that we get, but yet we ignore because we want to stay with our heads buried in the sand. We can't continue to allow this passive thinking where we just believe whatever somebody tells us to be true. We have the ability, we have been given the ability to think for ourselves, and we need to begin to use it more wisely. Do you think employers, clients, your partner, whether that's a personal partner or business partner, do you think that they want someone who can't think for themselves, that just follows along with whatever somebody tells them because it fits you in the moment, not thinking about the broader outcome, the broader challenges, the broader opportunities, the broader end game? They want someone who demonstrates, who can solve problems, not just who focus on the problems, but who can solve problems. Not just solve the problem quick, but to be solving problems that are effective, that will bring better results. So we have to stop this passive thinking of just believing whatever somebody says, regardless of how crazy it is. When we have the ability to look out and research and understand for ourselves, we were given that by God to think for ourselves, but yet we find ourselves in places where we don't do that, even when it's to our detriment, even when it's not in our best interest, even when it's not in the best interest of the people that we love, the people in our circles of influence. Since when do we not care about other people? Since when is that in any religion okay? It is not. So I'm asking us to level up, to skill up how we approach things so that we can be problem solvers, not adding to the problem, y'all. So what are the consequences if you don't think critically? You have no personal freedom because you are bound, because you are accepting beliefs that somebody has given you. Think about what is going on today. I don't have to get into it in detail. And you might moan about it and groan about it. I want to say the B word, but I won't. But you moan and you groan about it, but you don't do anything about it. You just follow along. That's not who we are. That passive thinking, that's the opposite of critical thinking. So you lose your personal freedom because critical thinking says, I have assessed and understood and learned this on my own using multiple different resources, which we will talk about, to come to this judgment and conclusion about what is going on and how it's going to impact me, how it is going to impact those in my immediate circle, and how it's going to continue to impact those outside of my immediate circle. We have been given that ability, but somehow it's gotten lost and we've become just followers of nonsense. If we don't have this mode of critical thinking and understanding the importance of critical thinking, then there's a loss of competent leadership. Who can be a leader if you cannot think through and analyze and assess and reconstruct your thinking? Realize that how I thought before, I need to change how I'm thinking. What kind of a leader would that be? We know, but what kind of leader would that be? We have examples of that. So what are you going to do about it? Let's quit talking about what other people have to do. What are you specifically going to do about that? And are you critically thinking? Are you thinking for yourself? Do you have personal freedom and control over your life? What impact are you making? Because you are thinking through and analyzing and assessing and reassessing facts. I'm talking about facts, verified, proven information. So all of these distractions, we're so distracted. I'm distracted. We're all distracted by all of this nonsense that is going on out here. We're overwhelmed. There's a fear of failure. We're so distracted, not even knowing what really matters to you. But they say that these distractions lowers our IQ by 10 points because we don't focus. And it makes us lose time, which impacts our productivity because we're doing things that we don't need to be doing. It don't matter. We have this need for attention, this immediate satisfaction. We just accept. That's not critical thinking. Go and research on your own. Find out, because you might find information to add to what you just learned. And all of this because we're not thinking critically and creatively, it leads to stagnation. And it doesn't just impact you in your immediate circle. It impacts what happens in your city, in your state, in your country, globally. This is a global problem. But we have to come back to what are we going to do as an individual? Because I've said, you cannot control all of this out there. It's an illusion. But you can control who? You. So what are you as an individual going to do about this? Because the common barriers to critical thinking is how you think and what you think. So again, I say it's happening because we don't have, and it's just such a short attention span that we have on anything. And we don't pay attention. We let one thing come in and another thing come in and another thing, something we say is important. Well, the next thing that comes in, the next distraction that comes in, we divert our attention over there. Can you focus? Can you critically think? Can you research? Can you assess? Can you analyze? Can you validate facts? Can you do that if you're constantly distracted? Because see, that distraction and all that stuff that comes in can be intentional, but expediency to get it done quickly as opposed to that immediacy. We have this over-reliance of our emotions and feelings, and we get self-centered, and we tie that into society and our cultures, and we start conforming, peer pressure, this unconscious bias that we have. We get selective in what we're thinking and saying and perceiving to be true. And we have our personal biases that prohibits us from even wanting to go and find out if maybe I might be wrong, and understanding how does this fit into what it is that I want to see in my life, what I want to see in my children's life, in my inner circle's life, what I want to see in the world, and then go out there and make that happen. So you got to develop problem-solving skills. Problem solving. How are you going to solve the problem? Within your circle of influence, within what you can control. But what are the characteristics of a critical thinker? And I want you to think about, are these characteristics that you have, or write down, are these characteristics that you need to build and have more of and practice and nurture these characteristics? Are you curious and inquisitive? Because if you're not curious and inquisitive, you're just going to accept whatever comes your way. Oh, really? Do you want to become and remain well informed? Is that a desire for you? Are you attentive to the opportunities that you have, that this is a situation where I need to do a little bit more research? I'm just not going to accept what I just heard. Let me just go do a little more research. Sometimes it doesn't even take much. What about your self-confidence with your own ability? Are you open-minded regarding different views? You have to self-regulate. Know when I was thinking this way, now that I see that I've allowed other information to come into me, that's more factual, that's been verified, I've checked some things out. What skills do you need to critically think? Do you have these skills? Do you observe? Can you analyze? Can you interpret? Do you reflect? Can you evaluate? Can you communicate and explain your point of view? Because this is not about you critically thinking, coming up with a judgment, forming a judgment, talking about it to people who are like-minded like you. You should be able to hold up that conversation with people who think differently and welcome hearing a different perspective. You don't have to agree with it, but you should be able to hold your own in positioning your view. Why? Because you've done some research, skills of problem solving, decision making, just making a dang on decision that I'm going to start practicing and being aware when I'm not critically thinking to ensure that I am. And there are ways that you can be more critical in your thinking. You can just ask basic questions. You know, sometimes this world is so complicated, we can still go back to keep it simple. Question basic assumptions. Be aware of your mental processes and how are you processing, information. Think for yourself. Is this me thinking? Is this my belief? Or did I accept somebody else's belief? So I encourage you to begin using critical thinking and think for your damn self to control your life and what is going on with you, so that whatever information is coming, whatever is going on, you can analyze and understand that so that you know how you need to react and behave. How does that change the result and outcomes that you want in your life? How do you need to adapt to have better outcomes regardless of the circumstances that are going on out there? So are you a critical thinker? And if you're not, are you willing to do something about it? Because I hope that you are. I know that it has made me begin to think differently and to question myself to ensure that I'm not just accepting whatever information comes into me, because it may not benefit me. It may harm me. So thank you again for joining. Those who are with me live, I hope that you got some nuggets from this message and how you personally can begin to bring critical thinking into your environment and whatever it is that you are doing and whatever it is that you are receiving in your life, in your business, and in your career, so that you can have better outcomes with less stress. So thank you again for joining. Know that I love y'all.